with that said, guys, we are ready. The teams, they've logged in, they're all set up, they're good to go. It's going to be our opening match here of Redbull BattleGrounds Dota 2, the playoffs. It's Malaysia versus Summer's Rift.
Alrighty, well, it's our opening draft, our opening challenge. We're going to see if champions of Summer's Rift are right in that Malaysia made the wrong decision in challenging them. It's going to be Summer's Rift with first pick. I believe it's the challenge team who gets choice of that. So one of the kind of small advantages you get as the one who's getting challenged, but it's going to be a tough game for them against Malaysia.
All right, first pick here. What are we expecting?
I don't know what to expect, LD. It's a new patch.
Queen is the hero. Queen of Pain right now, every game picked or banned. So looking statistically, that is the hero that both teams, maybe not really wanting most, but definitely will keep in their minds as they move forward.
Yeah, it reminds me of like the old Vengeful Spirit or something, where it's just like always good. It can fit into any strategy, can go into so many different lanes.
And normally not something you really want to ban, so it often would get through the draft as well.
We're seeing some of the more like trendy picks. The new hero added into CM, the Winter Wyvern getting banned out. Gyrocopter, as mentioned, a very strong hero in the current patch. And may see targets onto some of those other kind of trendy picks, be it like the Undying, the Beastmaster you mentioned.
Looking at Malaysia, they really like their Shadow Fiend as well. We've seen that a couple of times from Kachikemba on this patch. Played it in 2 of their last 3 games. They lost 1, they won 1.
I think a lot of those trendy mids are still, I mean, they didn't really get touched.
Shadow Fiend didn't really get touched at all.
Yeah, the Queen of, the Sniper being the big one that got nerfed in his lightning stage. But yeah, Shadow Fiend, Queen of Pain, Storm Spirit, all still very good. I feel like the Storm nerfs hurt a little bit, but overall, he's still very solid, especially his lane stage hasn't really been hurt.
Thinking about Team Summer's Rift here. In the last patch, it was always like a first pick Night Stalker or Spirit Breaker, sometimes the Zeus and then one of those two. Zeus still looks pretty good. Like, yeah, he's got less vision on the ult, but otherwise still the same hero.
It still gives vision is the big thing. You can use it as that setup going into a gank, and you can use it just to figure out where your opponents are, if they're going for a smoke gank, if they're going for Roshan.
I feel like one of the biggest heroes that is still out there right now in this patch is the Beastmaster. Something that Demon used to run a lot in the off lane. He's known for his micro play. We've seen Bulba running it for Tinker in the off lane. We've seen Fada running it mid very dominantly. Seems good in this patch. Still good against Roshan. The Boar attack point is a bit quicker, so he's more able to effectively kite people and keep up with those melee physical damage dealers if we see any. Now, for now, the Tree going to get banned out by Malaysia. Something that Summer's Rift also likes to run. They really like their durable lineups, whether it's tanky strength cores or gankers or supports or just living armor. Abaddon is still out there if you want to go that route, but I doubt we'll see it as the first pick.
I want to see a return of the Demon Keeper of the Light with the changes that happened to that hero. That seems like a pick that
is a
likely to make a resurgence.
Yeah, the Blink Force, you know. Let them know you're there, then stay around, do it again, and then they jump you.
It's just a classic demon hero, you know?
Where's
it definitely can become a playmaker, but we'll see what Summer's Rift have in mind for their first pick soon. That's you mentioned the Tree getting banned out, Beastmaster being a pick. Otherwise, I think you're looking at some of those similar kind of top pick materials.
I mean, other heroes that are out there, like Wisp is still out there. Crystal Maiden did get some decent buffs in this patch.
Yeah, the Freezing Field having that much lower cooldown at level 1.
I believe the Frostbite also got a bit of an improvement as well.
Just overall, a support that was used to be always just good, well-rounded, but then other supports just got made a bit better. But now with just the slight tweaks to the different spells, CM just suddenly becomes a lot more well-rounded throughout the early to mid, even slightly into the late game.
It's a little squishy, but with this pick, Malaysia right into the Shadow Fiend Undying. So no surprise they go for the Shadow Fiend. They've been picking this most games in the previous patch. They continue to pick it here. It seems like Kachikemba's most comfortable hero.
Yeah, and you can be aggressive with these heroes. Yes, Shadow Fiend not aggressive in the laning stage, but once he gets his first time, even before he gets something like a mech, just with treads, 1 bottle, he hits level 7, he has a ton of damage output, can group up with his team, push towers, and control the tempo of the game really well. So this is the kind of hero and just playstyle which is really going to suit Team Malaysia. He'll probably look to group up and take early objectives in this game.
The big question for me for Summer's Rift is how do they deal with the Tombstone right now? Bristleback no longer a counter to Undying. Still have Gyrocopter, but he's banned. The other one that can deal with the zombies pretty well is Medusa, but obviously the best way to deal with Undying, just kill the frickin' Tombstone itself. So, well, do they have anyone who can do it yet? Not really. Queen of Pain, Crystal Maiden, not heavy physical damage dealers. Gonna struggle against it so far. They will ban out a Malaysia Classic, though. Here they got buffed in this patch. We talked a lot about him in the pregame. The Leshrac off the table. No longer available for KYXY.
Yeah. We'll see what Malaysia look to put together with the Undying. Potential for, like, aggro tri-lanes, even just Phoenix a pesky dual lane. Phoenix, yeah, that's a hero who did not get touched in this patch.
I think he got a bit of a nerf on the Fire Spirits, but
It gives a, I was saying with the vision landing on the Fire
But
Spirit,
it's like,
so,
even if it's a nerf, it's a very minor change.
So we'll see PL get banned out by Team Malaysia, and Summer's Rift now. A couple more bans coming their way. As you mentioned, no real physical damage to deal with a Tombstone, so I feel like there's a couple approaches you can take. You can either avoid the 5-man of Malaysia, look for a more split push heavy lineup.
Which kind of has been their approach with BSJ often on, like, we saw this Anti-Mage, Slark. I think there was a Spectre game in there. Very late game oriented strats with one heavy physical damage dealer.
Yeah, so have like a 4-hero lineup who can defend and just stall Malaysia while Banana Slam Jam is off doing his thing, getting a big farm. And I mean, you're going to out-farm a 5-man push unit if you're off on your own with the lane as well as Tower Gold going your way. So we'll see if that's going to be the approach for Summer's Rift, or if they try and take a lineup which can actually fight early on. Slark, another popular pick from Banana Slam Jammer that can fight maybe a bit earlier, but also scale pretty well into the late game.
All right, as for Team Malaysia here, 4th ban coming out. They right now running just the main physical damage of the Shadow Fiend. Summer's Rift still need their initiator, and historically it's been the Spirit Breaker as of late. We've seen the support Night Stalker, not sure if we'll see him this game with the CM already picked up. They will ban the Bristleback though, interestingly enough. He does still do heavy physical damage from the Warpath, even though the Quills aren't going to work on the zombies.
So Spirit Breaker then gets snagged by Malaysia, so slight deny pick in some ways, but also here I imagine they really like for the early game aggression he can provide.
And it's just an aggressive patch. Now, can you get the Frostbite off in time? Do you know, is the cast range long enough when he's charging into... If he's like charging you.
Yeah,
okay.
You can Frostbite him before the charge hits.
So they have one way to deal with it. Generally, when we've seen Spirit Breaker picks really fall apart is when teams have multiple ways. Like we've seen Lion is really good against this hero. I mean, something like Beastmaster still feels like it could be pretty good. You get the Necro Book opportunity as well, something that's been buffed heavily in this patch, Necro 1 and 2. For now, they go Sand Cane, so extremely heavy on the magic damage. Feels like a great Veil game for this team so far, which was changed a bit in this patch, a little cheaper. Lower cooldown as well as still a pretty long duration. It's got 80% uptime now, so magic damage heavy, but
and
for
here
Malaysia,
that Demon plays really
king.
well. This is like a good 4-position support where he can get a lot of farm, make plays happen, be elusive, and really just create space for his team. So this is, to me, a hero that suits Demon as well as Summer's Rift in their playstyle. So we'll see how it works. But Malaysia pick up Shadow Shaman, and it looks like they are going to be going for a very heavy kind of 5-man Death Ball type draft.
This hero got only slightly tweaked. I think he got a little more strength gain, or maybe his base strength. He's a little bit harder to kill, and there was one other change, but
he got two extra strength at level 1, so highest base strength, so that just makes him tankier, and then a slightly higher strength game, which is less noticeable.
It doesn't really, like, if he gets caught by CM, Sand King, Queen of Pain, Shadow Shaman's going to die.
It helps him a bit in the lane stage as far as zoning out an offlane who's maybe trying to trade hits with him, but yeah, it's a very, very small buff.
Yeah, so running the Undying Shadow Fiend, not really the best gankers. Maybe a little Summer's Rift here, feeling like they can get greedy because of that. Even Shadow Shaman, low base move speed, although he has pretty good disables. Thinking they can just do their thing with some early jungling. We are going to see the Tide Hunter coming out. So now 3 heroes that can use the neutrals. Crystal Maiden, Sand King, and Tide. Not sure if Team Malaysia is going to passively sit back and allow that, though.
Yeah, it's definitely something Malaysia likely will try and contest. Even level 1, try and get in there, prevent the stacks from happening. I guess for Tide, you can take the Ancient. CM maybe gets just a level 2, level 3 from the neutrals, and then lets the Sand King stack and take over. But will be a tough game for Summer's Rift to decide how they want to distribute the farm, even if supports are getting more farm out of the map in general.
Well, they've done their homework here. That last ban coming out on a BSJ special, the Slark. Thinking of other BSJ heroes, he occasionally likes to run a little Huskar as well. I don't know if that's the hero you run this time around, though. There's a lot of physical damage from the Spirit Breaker, the Shadow Fiend, even the Shaman Wards. What else does he play? We've seen the Spectre, if they want to go for a really heavy late game. And this is an amazing teamfight lineup already. PL's banned, that's another go-to for him. I mean, a hero that they wouldn't pick so much, but is still out there, still feels pretty strong, is Naga. Naga is available.
Yeah,
if this was like Cloud9 or something, I wouldn't be surprised if they went for it.
But I think Lone Druid would be good for Summer's Rift as far as saying to deal with the Tombstone, but it's not a hero that I've seen Banana Slam Jammer really play. But Malaysia, Lone Druid gets banned, but insta-pick on the Viper. They seem to know they want to pick this already. And this gives them, well, very dominant lanes, very good mid-game, and that's something Summer's Rift are going to be very thoughtful of when they pick whatever it is going to be for Banana Slam Jammer.
Yeah, and looking at this team, they need to farm up those, at least one of these 2 blinks, the Sand King, the Tide, and with Malaysia having such strong laners, the Viper Shadow Fiend Undying pretty good, especially once he gets his levels, he excels. They may just look to just take over the jungle, invade, and shut it down real early before these heroes can get their blinks.
Yeah, I really feel like they need a good fighting carry, something that can come get involved early on, and maybe that is going to be something like your traditional troll sniper. I don't know, because I feel like if you get that greedy, like anti-mage Spectre type pick, you're just not going to make it to a stage of the game where that hero can get involved. You'll just lose the mid game too poorly, and that it just becomes too much of a liability to pick a big late game heavy farmer with this last pick.
Yeah, and it's going to be the sniper.
Yeah. Shrapnel's just such a good spell when you max it out. Even with the nerfs to it, I think it's still going to be really potent for against that aggression coming out from Malaysia in the mid game.
He also has really good range, which helps you a lot to kill off the tombstone.
Yeah. It was the big area where the hero was nerfed. The Shrapnel, as well as even Assassinate taking a slight damage nerf, and those are the spells you're going to be relying on around that 15-minute stage of the game when Malaysia are pushing if you want Sniper to get involved, but they're still powerful spells even post-nerf, I feel.
All right, well, it looks like the players are going to begin selecting their heroes now. We will see the IX Mike Tidehunter coming out for Summer's Rift, so most likely trotting down to the off lane. We'll have to see if they want to put this sniper mid or into the safe lane. He is up against the Spirit Breaker, Shadow Shaman, a decent ganker, but mainly it's going to be that big cow that may move around early and look for some potential kills.
Yeah, I think probably just a safe lane sniper with the Queen of Pain in mid. But we'll see how things look to go. I think Brax is just going to be much more suited in that tempo controller role out of the mid lane, and maybe something that he's more going to lean towards. So we'll see if that's the plan or not for Summer's Rift. But on the Malaysia side, a lot of, as we said, early game rotation potential. You've got the Spirit Breaker to lead off ganks. And that's also another reason where I think Queen of Pain does well in the mid lane. Because if you're getting charged, if you're getting ganked, that's where you can easily just blink out and look to be elusive.
All right, we're going to have an unpause here. Teams will get underway. We see the wards getting snapped up, a new fancy icon for the pulled wards. And we'll go through our team introductions now. Malaysia, they were the challengers, and we'll begin with them. On the side of Team Malaysia, we've got KYXY playing the Viper, heading down towards the bottom lane. It'll be Kachikimba on the Shadow Fiend. Mushi taking up the support Shadow Shaman, starting just with a ward and tangos. And that leaves Johnny on the Undying. And last but not least will be Ohio, already making his way into the Dire jungle. And will now back off on the Spirit Breaker.
Well, on the Summer's Rift side of things, we've got IX Mike, the lovable mustache fella, playing the off-lane Tidehunter. It's going to be Brax playing the Queen of Pain for this team. Up towards the top lane, we have got Demon on Sand King, Whitebeard on Crystal Maiden, and Banana Slam Jammer on the Sniper.
All right, well, we've introduced the teams here, Gods, and with the draft complete, do you feel like either team has an overwhelming advantage? Is this going to come down to execution, or do you see some vulnerabilities on either side?
I think there's definite clear vulnerabilities on the Summer's Rift side to survive the mid-game of Malaysia, and this is, to me, Malaysia in their comfort zone. Have a lineup which does really well on the laning stage, can dominate, take towers very easily in the mid-game. Late game wise, that's where Summer's Rift can look to kind of pull things back, but even then Malaysia still have an okay late game as well to contest. So for Summer's Rift, it's all going to be about surviving the early to mid game.
All right, well, with that out of the way, we will have the rune spawn, bounty rune snagged by KYXY's Viper, as well as Brax's Queen of Pain. So both players immediately going to rotate towards mid. Looks like there will be an extra set of tangos coming out now for Brax. Indeed, there are. And we'll settle down into the lane. So it's going to be Viper versus Queen of Pain mid. Generally a matchup where Queen of Pain is going to lose the CS battle. Shouldn't die as long as she plays defensively.
Against the Shadow Fiend.
Oh, against the Shadow Fiend,
yeah.
Actually. Okay, they are going to send the Shadow Fiend mid in the end.
Yeah, it looks like just give the Viper the safe lane. It's going to be a dual lane setup here. And they've instantly let this Crystal Maiden help the mid lane to start things off, which is a nice way to kind of deal with the Shadow Fiend in mid lane. Give you the good edge as far as the matchup for the Queen of Pain.
Yeah, this matchup actually much more favorable for the Queen of Pain. And the good news, though, is they will be able to more effectively zone out the Tidehunter bottom, as we see top lane Johnny playing that support Undying. Not going to be getting a whole lot of farm here, but is looking to pressure Summer's Rift very early. This is a face rush dual lane. They may be double melee, Gods, but if they sense these supports moving off of the lane, they can just go deep on this sniper, dive him under the tower, and probably kill him there as well.
Yeah, I think this is a decent lane set. They're actually going to start getting aggressive on Johnny. They need to be a bit careful about the multiple hero decay, but they're split up pretty nicely. And the body blocks from Demon, it's pretty decent, but they can't really... I don't know if the damage is going to be enough here. The decay onto two heroes gives Undying a lot of bonus HP, and with the Stout Shield, Johnny is going to be okay unless another Burrow Strike or Frostbite comes out.
Unfortunately, it looks like our Shadow Fiend has disconnected. Some tears being shed in the game by Mr. BrexXXXX. He doesn't actually expect us to pronounce that, does he?
He just expects us to throw off his opponent in lane. He talked about this because we called him out yesterday. He said, why have you got the most obnoxious name? Because when you go to last hit, the name is so long that it can sometimes like block the screen and just be
You can't see their HP bar.
Yeah, you can't see the HP bars properly. So it's actually like a little tactic of his. You can disable it, but
please. It is really long in game. I'm actually surprised. On the scoreboard is one thing, but hey, give him credit. You know, if it's in the game, you are absolutely free to lose it or to use it until you lose it when Ice Frog takes it away.
And he's doing well as far as the last hits in mid lane go, as you'd expect with the Crystal Maiden. Even just that one kind of creep wave of help just goes a long way. Helps the Queen of Pain get to level 2 with a CS advantage and the SF to be shut down. Especially when SF has this Wraith Band level 1. It's going to be some time before Ketchik Imba can get his bottle up and running.
Well, we'll wait here for the players to get ready to go. And looks like we're still waiting on that reconnect from Ketchik Imba. Checking out some cool items here. Got the IX Mic Pro Gear. The stash in-game. That was a very clever way to do the item, I have to say.
I like it.
It looks like the stash, but it's not actually a mustache. Just a very
That's an old school item, too.
I don't know how effective this is, because she's got, like, she's covering up her mouth as a top lane. The chase will continue. Get Johnny. There's your last hit. First blood will go the way of Team Summer's Rift.
That was like the last. That was a level 1 shrapnel tick getting the kill. That was just barely. He was on 8 HP, and I think the last shrapnel tick got him. Had to go through all 3, and this is where Sniper takes a lot longer to recharge that shrapnel, and it will be a long time before he gets the triple shrapnel back online.
All right, we'll see what Demon wants to do here. May go ahead and stack and then deny himself to the neutrals, get that free fountain trip.
Yeah, probably goes.
He's already spent his gold.
Yeah, we can get both of those. He goes for the stun. Nice little play there. If he walks in, he just dies to the right clicks, and this is actually a really nice little move from him.
All right, well, he'll get the aggro. Looks like bottom rune. We're going to have a bit of a clash here. Mushi trapped out in the river, throws out the Ether Shock, tries to go blow for blow with Brax, but will be killed off. It's 2 kills in a row. Now the turn, though. They've seen the supports off the top lane. They're going to look for a Tombstone Decay, but they won't chase BSJ, and Tombstone already blown. That's going to be about a minute or so where your Sniper feels very safe and protected up here in the top lane.
This is what we saw some teams do in the America group stage, where you pressure BSJ in lane, make it a bit harder for him to get his farm, get his last hits, and come online. But the Summer's Rift team is so good at creating space for him around like 5 to 15 minutes, especially if Brax gets a good start and their offlane gets a good start, which is for the most part what's happened here, especially with the Queen of Pain in mid. Less so for the Tide in the offlane, though.
All right, well, we'll have another disconnect. And things look good for Team Summer's Rift early. At the same time, the Malaysia are farming well right now, as we see. When it comes to net worth, this is actually a very close game, Gods, despite the first blood and the secondary kill. Yeah,
you've got the kills in the Summer's Rift side, but Malaysia, as far as last hits go, all 3 lanes going decently for them. And that's something where they can at least, they'll have all their cores saying, well, I'm doing okay. Like, okay, yeah, we lost a couple kills here or there, but the actual state of their lanes in their early game is by no means ruined or even hurt that much by these 2 kills. They can still transition well into that powerful mid game of theirs, look to group up and take towers. Things are at least going well enough for them so far.
And I guess my big question is this stacking going to be contested? Do we see Team Malaysia looking to make their way into the dire jungle, try and... They do have heroes that can steal the stacks, the big one being, of course, the Shadow Fiend. They're generally pretty tanky with the Undying, the Spear Breaker. Do you see them being able to invade that jungle and take these stacks out for themselves? Something that we saw at Starladder actually was the very different approach. When a team wants to play passive stack Dota, even if you're losing, you just go in there, steal the stacks. We even saw teams smoke ganking for the stacks, something that it's kind of reminiscent of like DreamHack Winter 2012 when teams were fighting over those whopping quad ancient stacks. Do you think they can contest, basically, is my question?
Not in the very early game stage. I think once they get their items and levels, like Shadow Fiend needs to be level 7, I think they can, but it's not like they've got that Bat Rider who's just like level 3, level 4, and can just go into the enemy jungle by himself and steal it, so...
Has to be a team effort if they want to.
Your Viper's a safe lane farmer. KYXY is not when they're just going to go leave the lane and rotate in the enemy jungle just to secure some stacks for a teammate, because he's not really farming the stacks, and Undying decent at like going in and making a move there, but I feel like it's something that will happen later on for Team Malaysia. Once they probably won't contest the initial stacks that Demon may look to farm on his Sand King, but around the kind of 8 to 15 minute mark of the game, that's when they'll be more aggressive, maybe with their warding and do so.
All right, let's look a little more at kind of the timing windows for the teams. It looks like for Team Summer's Rift, the key has got to be those blink daggers. Sand King, Tidehunter, at least one of them. Maybe we see like a mech coming out from the Tide early, but it does feel like they need at least one blink initiator to really kind of fuel their mid-game aggression.
Before then, they can also, like, this first 5 minutes of the game is pretty good for them as well. Like, they can roam with the Sand King, with the Crystal Maiden, especially when CM hits level 3 and has 1 point in both Frostbite as well as the Crystal Nova. That's where both Sand King and CM are really good kind of roaming support gankers. You get a smoke on either of them, you can take out the mid lane, you can go for kills on that off lane where the Undying as well as the Spirit Breaker may be vulnerable. So I think from that point of view, Summer's Rift okay in the lane stage, but yeah, once the Malaysia team start grouping up as 5, the only way you fight into that is with blinks on Sand King or Tide, and ideally both.
Still waiting on our 10th final player to get back in here. Hopefully he will be soon. And it looks like, guys, we're actually going to, unfortunately, a 10-minute break here. But when we come back, we should have the PC issues sorted out. Should be good to go. So we'll take a short one, guys. Then we'll be back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Redbull BattleGround's Dota 2. I'm LD, he's Gods, and we're just getting ready for the resume of our first match of the day. It's early in Malaysia versus Summer's Rift, but right now, Gods, the challenges they're holding their own. Yeah,
showing that potentially they're not as easy as some of these teams maybe took them to be, and Summer's Rift, I mean, they've got a few tricks up their sleeves potentially here. We are about 2.5 minutes into our opening game. Just waiting on the reconnect, which has been reported to happen very, very soon. And right now, Summer's Rift up a couple of kills, but as far as the overall state of the game goes, still fairly even, it feels like.
Yeah, I believe it was like a 500 or so net worth difference, and that is with Summer's Rift having the 2-kill lead as well as the first blood bounty. They are CSing better right now, and I think they feel pretty comfortable, Team Malaysia, despite the giving up the early kills about the way the game's going.
Yeah, this is very, very early days. You can get your SF easily farming away in the jungle if he needs to be. You've got plenty of potential for these lanes to start really kicking in once you get a few levels. If anything, there are heroes which, with a few levels, can really start picking up steam. I mean, once around the time you hit 10 minutes in, your Shadow Shaman gets level 6. You have Serpent Wards. You can start 5-manning, pushing down towers. You get the early mech on the Viper, or your Shadow Fiend, whoever's going to be going for that. And you start taking objectives as well. So I think from that point of view, Malaysia are perfectly comfortable. They know that heroes like CM and Sand King can set up kills in the early game lanes, but now they've got to, at some point, maybe 5 minutes in, Summer's Rift are going to have to look to sit back, farm their blink daggers.
And they are a pretty good turtling lineup if they need to. You're pushing into, once those blinks come out, an amazing AoE combo. But before they're out, they're only decent at clearing the waves. They've got Shrapnel, but the cooldown's a lot longer, replenishing the charges in this patch up to 55 seconds. And you've got Crystal Maiden's Nova. That's really it for the reliable deep push that's not like a big ultimate. But once the blink daggers come out, I mean, good luck. You need BKBs at that point.
Yeah, you need, if not BKBs, you have like the mech plus pipe, but pipe kind of a forgotten item.
Or you need a Rubik
yeah.
with the new null field, but no, they're not going to have him, obviously.
Yeah,
so.
From that point of view, that's where Summer's Rift can really start to take team fights. You have a Sand King Tidehunter with a Queen of Pain backing them off. There's a lot of AoE damage potential from this team, and even Sniper, a good hero to throw in some finishing damage as well, because often you'll see like a Sonic Wave Epicenter get heroes low, but then you've got the Assassinate to finish off the kill. You've got the Shrapnel to kite people around and will kind of keep them in place as well with the extra slow. So I feel like Summer's Rift not going for that all-in late game Banana Slam Jam carry necessary with this draft, but looking for something that can actually fight a lot earlier on with the Sniper.
I will say it's early in the day here, and both teams seem pretty calm and relaxed. Obviously, they're eager to get back into the game, but didn't sense a whole lot of nerves. And I think especially for, especially for Summer's Rift, they've got 3 less experienced players. Well, Mike, not less experienced, but a stand-in anyway. And of course, BSJ, the player that's really looking for some big LAN experience. With Whitebeard, at least he played at the ESL1 New York event for this team back towards last year.
Been to Style Ladders before as well, so.
at the same time, they haven't really gotten those big wins yet. So you'd expect maybe a little nerves, but not seeing too much yet.
They're chill. They're joking around a bit. They're having some fun so far. I guess once you start losing a life or two, that's where...
If they get picked on by IG next time, let's say they lose this game, then IG chooses them, all of a sudden, life's not quite so fun.
I mean, at that point, you're like, reflect on, let's keep the heat away from us at that point, and you're thinking, like, let's make someone else take the challenge. But then, hey, you get to the third team, which is going to be Hellraisers, and suddenly you're taking on Hellraisers, potentially Secret if they lose to Hellraisers. That's when the day can get very rough for this Summer's Rift team if they don't pick up some wins.
I'm super interested to see if anyone like just bucks the curve and it's like IG, like we're just going to challenge Secret right away. We're going to take down the top dogs and, you know, we're going to establish our dominance here right out of the gate. So,
and especially with Secret disappointing Star Ladder results, it could be a team that may be an unexpected target for some of these people.
And even for IG, they also 2-0'd Malaysia there. It was one of the off-stage matches, but it was, I assume, from the 2-0 score, a pretty one-sided match.
And for IG, they've got 3 lives. So you get to IG and they're just like, we feel pretty confident. Let's just challenge Secret for the fun of it. Let's entertain some people. That may just be Chuan making a statement saying, I'm going to call out Team Secret. Like, we got 3 lives to work with. We lose to you guys. It's all right.
Yeah, I believe it is going to be Chuan who's coming out for the team. So if that's the case, I mean, who knows? Maybe he just goes rogue and like the team's like, no, let's pick the easy, safe win. And then Chuan's just like, screw it. Puppy, you're mine.
Chuan and Jimmy like made a little backseat deal or something. Like these guys go way back.
He was getting a little physical with Puppy yesterday, you know, kind of like bumping him a little bit. You know, like when there's a little scrum in a sports match. Chuan was like, I'm going to assert my dominance right now, Puppy. I'm actually almost as tall as you. I'm not afraid of you. Ain't so big and bad after all.
Okay.
I don't know if Puppy really cared, but Chuan kept on pushing.
It's not going to be Puppy that's going to intimidate. Go to S4, the calm,
it was
mellow,
interesting.
sweet.
He chose the biggest guy on the team to try and bully.
Yeah.
Chuan's trying. He's like just wanting to establish dominance. I feel like that's the mindset here for him.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's for a lot of these teams. At some point, you're going to make it look like you're not the weak team who can get picked on, because that's where you'll quickly become a target, quickly get knocked out if you're not careful.
That's where I'm surprised Summer's Rift didn't send out either IX Mike for the swag factor, even though he's a stand-in, or Demon, so you can just, you know, flex a little bit. Try.
That's a strategy, I guess. You know, like this is not your everyday.
That's probably
DotaTV
just going to
really
really attract their attention. Be like, all right, you need to stop clowning around. We're definitely going to pick you now.
Let's say if it was Demon up there, I'd be like, Jimmy, I'm just
damn it, Jimmy,
it's you. I gotta challenge you now. Let's see what your next antics are going to be. But yeah, I'm curious to see what happens throughout today and when those reflectors start coming out, because I imagine it may be sooner than we think even.
Yeah, and they have run events like this before in other games, and it sounds like they were used very strategically. So it wasn't just like, okay, you might get eliminated, just use your reflector defensively. There were kind of next-level tactics. I mentioned the one where, you know, you want to just finish off a team that's got 1 life, and you make a deal with another team to reflect onto that team so they can't dodge it. I believe at the last event in StarCraft that Scarlet had made deals with like every single player is what I was told, and as a result was able to kind of finagle her way all the way into the grand finals. But not sure if it's going to be. I don't know if these teams are going to collaborate together like that.
And it's hard, like how much collaboration will actually help you out. You've got just 5 teams here. If you're Secret or IG, you're like, we're the favorites coming to this event. And that's where I feel like these teams can just say, I mean, if you're IG, I feel like you don't need any alliances. You're just like, we're IG. You guys want to challenge us? Go for it by all means, but we'll take all the games and all the prize money we can get.
They got the jackets. I got to say, that is like IG's secret weapon. Those things are pretty swag.
I mean, all of them, like burning shoes of like glitter on them and stuff. Like these guys.
I have a buddy who was messaging me. He's like, hey, can you get me an IG jacket? I'm like, well, I'm not a cute girl here. I'm not sure how much swag I really have, but I'll try. So,
hey, after this, I'll be coming out to well, Eastern LA.
Yeah.
So we'll see, maybe some jackets get taken away there. But we'll see.
You're implying like they're going to be stolen or like picked off.
They're excited. They're like, oh, we're going back to China now. We have a whole like factory of jackets there that we can just go grab a few more from. So
I'm envisioning like a closet full of these things. You know, I forget what the movie was, but like, you walk in there, it's like the same exact jacket, and there's like 100 of them. It's like, which one do I want? Okay, I'm gonna take that one today.
So we can take a look at the pricing and how things work to explain for you guys for this event and what the teams are actually competing for. As well, initially each of these teams has already net themselves $5,000 from the group stage qualifiers, and for the playoffs, each life worth $1,500 plus 3%. For a total of $22,500, and then if you make it to the grand finals, that's where there's a lot more prize money up for grabs. All this information over at redbullbattleground.com.
Yeah, of course, tickets are also on sale there, guys. So if you haven't already done so and you want to get involved with the big grand finals, which is happening on May 10th, you can go to redbullbattlegrounds.com, use the promotional code OGRE to secure your spot there today, and you'll get a buy one, get one free special out of it. And as you follow along today at home, guys, be sure to follow at Redbull Esports and use the hashtag BattleGrounds. And of course, last but not least, guys, I think you were starting to mention there, but they've got some fun interactive polling going on throughout the day, so you can predict who teams are going to challenge, who you think's going to win, and the cool part is you got unlimited votes. It's just as quick as you can spam, basically.
Get your tablets out, work your thumb muscles and stuff.
There are some individuals who are putting out like thousands of votes over the course of a day.
Oh,
so.
yeah.
I
got on there last time. Like, we were out here for the America group stage, and like during my break, because we had Ben here as well, and I was like, oh, I want to get voting, and I was like, I got trapped right into
run over by these people.
I got third on the leaderboard at least at one point. I think by the end of the day,
is that allowed? Are you allowed to be doing that?
I don't know.
I
was allowed to show up today at least.
Stop. There's no.
That David P on the leaderboard was someone else, guys. Just calm down.
David Pooker.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, there's a lot of Davids in the world, as proof by the two of us standing here. So,
yeah.
I think there's more than us too. There's some other Davids out there. I'm pretty sure.
At least one or two others.
Yeah. Okay.
So, guys, we are still waiting on the last computer to get fully replaced, the player to get back in the game. I believe that we're working on it here, but we still have a bit of a wait. He has not reconnected yet, unfortunately.
Yeah. Big thanks for being patient. Game should hopefully get back underway soon, and you guys can follow all the action, all the excitement around Redbull BattleGround Dota 2, the lives format, and everything that goes with it. Looking forward to all the other teams to play throughout the rest of the day. IG, Hellraiser, Secret. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And there's some other cool things which are coming up as well. On May 9th, there will be the San Jose LAN, which we briefly mentioned, but for those who attended or heard about the Seattle LAN, it's going to be the very similar idea. I'm not sure if all the players will be competing, but probably at least a smattering of them will be there, if not all. Maybe some of our people will be there, either commentating or competing from the Beyond the Summit crew. So I think right now tickets for that are sold out, but I believe you mentioned last time, like if someone plays their games and they decide to leave, then normally they'll get someone from the audience to come and participate.
Yeah, it was a long day of playing Dota throughout. So what happened is the spectators were kind of like on a standby list and got to kind of join in as some players left throughout the day. So even if you're spectating it, it's a lot of fun to spectate. Games will be cast by the BTS guys. You'll also maybe get a chance to play later on the day.
And the really cool thing, I believe, is that the top 2 players from that will be in the All-Stars match. Yeah. And they'll get to select the teams from the players. So that could be really exciting. You get to...
That All-Star game happening before the main event. So we'll have an All-Star game with some of the, your favorite players here. So not just the best of 5 finals, you'll also have the All-Star game leading into that. So we'll see all that. We'll also be able to see Summer's Rift versus Malaysia soon, guys. But we're going to do a quick 5-minute break and look to sort things out and hopefully get things back underway soon. But until then, guys, stay tuned. You're watching Redbull BattleGround Dota 2.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. We're live. The reload has happened. We restarted instead of at 2:39 at 2:30. One of the players was not able to reconnect, and we're going to hop into the game right now. It's Team Malaysia versus Summers Rift. Summers Rift currently holding the 2-0 advantage as far as kills go, but the creep last hit advantage was going the way of Malaysia, God, so... it's a pretty even game early on, basically, is the quick recap.
Yeah, I think as far as the lanes go, you'd expect Malaysia to have the laning advantage with the just general last hits and all that, which is what's happening, but Summers Rift have made up for that with the kills, which is like a nice little early boost to them and how things are going. So we'll see if that kind of can continue, but definitely an early to mid-game where Malaysia are favored.
For now, Team Malaysia still trying to run this dual lane up top as Johnny, Ohio hanging out nearby together. Looks like Summers Rift want to get some pulls contested. They're bringing in the whole gang. Shrapnel 1 comes out, and it's actually on the creep, so just wants to farm up the stack. Seems they'll try to zone back the Undying as well as the Spirit Breaker, and Team Malaysia not really too comfortable contesting and walking it.
Nice Shrapnel. Banana Slam Jammer managed to get the entire Radiant creep wave, which is important because against neutrals, if neutrals get the last hit on the creep wave, you're getting 0 experience, and you're running a trial and you're already being XP starved, so important for them to do that.
Yeah, still a lot of contesting here. Not easy to get those kills as the Undying and Spirit Breaker level up, but you don't really necessarily need to get the kills. Even just preventing them from killing your sniper is good enough. But now they find Johnny trapped in the tree line. Can he get a good decay off here? Tombstone gets dropped along with the charge. Coming through it too, but rotating his Braxy heals himself up with a Soul Rip. Man, Johnny's tanky. Keeps on walking forward. Clubs Whitebeard once, can't get the kill, and now the chase onto Brax, getting slowed down a little bit here by the zombie, but it seems they're going to survive against this Tombstone. They get the kills.
They outlasted the Tombstone. That
Not
Tombstone
often
expired.
people tank through the Tombstone.
I'm looking at Brax, level 1 Blink with 3 zombies. I'm like, I hope Sniper can help him out or something, but suddenly Tombstone just expires. I'm like, okay, that's salvaged. Wow. Really nice rotation from Brax.
Yeah, if he does not come in there, I think that's a different fight, though. That definitely felt like it made the difference. And Team Malaysia, running the Undying, you expect to dominate a lane early. They're not doing it right now. They are farming really well on their other 2 cores, the Shadow Fiend as well as the Viper, but is that good enough, gods? They've given up a lot of kills. They've not contested the stacks successfully. And in general, it feels like Summers Rift, the lineup a little bit weak in the laning stage, but not really getting punished at all.
And now their lanes go so much better. When you have already phase boots on a sniper, it really allows him to kite around in the top lane, get a lot of damage output out, and just really help things out. It can give the Sand King room to rotate into that jungle now. The CM can continue to support, gank, look to roam around, and really just pressure across the board. Because even like a CM smoke gank towards mid could lead to a kill with Queen of Pain being level 6 now as well. Alternatively, CM can look to just continue to help out Banana Slam Jam in the safe lane. There's so many different options for Summers Rift that Malaysia have to be careful in so many different locations.
Well, it's about to hit 6 minutes, and it looked like at 4 minutes the runes did spawn. Sometimes with these reloads you have slight little issues with that, but the rune will once again spawn. We'll see Brax bottle 1 up in the bottom side of the map. Meanwhile, top lane Malaysia going to grab their own rune.
Yeah, and Mushi not falling for the same thing at bottom lane where Brax rotates in, and with the help of the Tide, kills can happen, as Mushi did die earlier this game at that bottom rune, trying to contest it against the Queen of Pain and Tide.
He is struggling a bit here, though. He's been the one forced to buy all the support items for the team. Just wants the boots right now. Only level 3 at 6.5 minutes. Just doesn't feel like he's getting a whole lot out of the laning stage compared to these Summers Rift supports who have kept up in levels and are also just stacking, farming the jungle. Now level 4.5 on the Sand King, and we have the Crystal Maiden doing about as well. Whitebeard also level 4.5. And we'll see now. Demon clears out 1 stack, moves to the next. Meanwhile, we have a little skirmish here towards the bottom side of the map, perhaps. Mike just going to drag the creeps back for now, and
see where they look.
Seems nobody wants to fight.
I feel like mid lane's maybe like a good place to try and get a kill at this point. SF's had a lot of time to catch up on his farm. He's hit level 7. This is where he wants to get maybe active, but it's also going to come down to where you feel like you can definitely get the kill.
The first nighttime hits now, and this is often that opportunity for teams to get aggressive. As Summers Rift, surprise, hits me. Sand King goes in on KYXY. Follow-ups there for the Queen of Pain. They throw everything at him and the kitchen sink. They get the kill. Do they find anything more? Looks like not. Top lane, meanwhile, maybe a bit of aggression. They made their move onto Banana Slamma Jamma, but can't really follow it up. Nice rotation from Whitebeard. Mushi did TP out successfully bottom, but overall, great start here for Summers Rift, God.
It was smart from Mushi not to try help out against the gank. He remained hidden the entire time, but ultimately it's another kill going Summers Rift way. They really finding a lot of kills on the map with these rotations.
At the same time, though, they are farming like champs on these cores. Look at that Shadow Fiend, still the leader in net worth.
Yeah,
wow, this is impressive from Kachikimba.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where the Queen of Pain rotations have led to these kills, but the Shadow Fiend with his jungle and just with the more kind of time and presence in the lane has managed to kind of take over that farming battle.
Now we are going to see in the mid lane our Viper just farming up pretty aggressively as both teams doing a bit of counter jungling, I guess you might say. Demon
Shadow
moves into
Fiend
the
was like
Radiant jungle.
in the big stacks as well.
Stealing some dire stacks. It's been a bit of a topsy-turvy minute or so here. But they are farming really hard on these heroes, and you got to imagine with the start he's had, the Demon is going to have a very fast blink on his Sand King.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see what his next move is going to be, though. He's sitting very nearby this mid lane, and fortunately without much backup, not really a place where he can find any kills. Doesn't have the epicenter available as well.
I'll see the golems, the shard golems coming out now. A cool new addition in 6.84. Demon tried to make his move on mid, but it doesn't seem like it's going to happen.
Yeah. He's going to take a raise or two. This could be really bad for Demon. He's got a
range
really range
get him killed here. Now the charge coming in, though, as Kachikimba unwinds with the Requiem. That reduces the incoming damage of Brax, who gets held down by Mushi, brought down as well. The charge now just onto a creep. Demon goes in for the burrow again. He gets the counter kill. The creep assisting just a little bit, as does the Crystal Maiden. And in the end, now that CM looking to walk away. Whitebeard with the drive by Nova.
Mike getting zoned very far back by the Viper, and I think Viper thinks better of it.
Okay, well, XY now looking for the TP out. There is no Ravage available. Mike unable to thwart that move. Whitebeard was just a bit out of range there on the Frostbite.
And now to the top lane we go. Charge in, Banana Slam, Jammer maybe in some trouble. The Tombstone there as well. Nether Strike underneath the Tombstone.
Oh, then the follow-up bash. He's getting beaten down.
Oh, boy.
Hoo-hoo, ha-ha, indeed. Now Brax will fight, but under the Tombstone, this might not be easy. Another courtesy bash from Ohio. That will thwart any follow-up. We'll retreat out.
Good sequence of events for Malaysia across the board. They've now got level 6 on Shadow Shaman, who drops the wards at mid lane, hits level 7, almost level 8. This
he
is
got
huge
so
XP
much out of that single kill mid. Ooh. Oh my goodness.
That's where, yeah, killing
that is
off.
6.84, where your under-leveled support gets involved in a kill on a very high level, high net worth here on the enemy team, and all of a sudden, you're right back in the game.
That's just the power of the Shadow Fiend too. It's a stage of the game where ganking him can be so high risk if he gets off those raises. Importantly, Malaysia had the ward, so they had vision of the Sand King with his positioning. SF could have even survived if he managed to hit maybe a blind raise onto the Sand King as well before the Sand King's last Burrow Strike came in, but still a really good exchange from Malaysia.
All right, we've got our first Mango, at least the first one I've seen, Gods. I know there's been others in other tournaments, but it's enchanted, and it comes out now for Ohio, who goes in with a charge. Will prompt a blink back from Brax. Looks like they're going to keep him in the top lane for now, so a bit of lane switcheroo action going on. And it looks like we are going to see that Viper Midas build coming out, something that KYXY was doing a lot of at Star Ladder. I think we saw it at least once, maybe twice. He often is not playing like the hard carry. Sometimes we've even seen, I think, Kachikimba do something similar where it's not really a hard carry, but they just go for a little bit of late game insurance anyway. Yeah,
and even when you've got a Midas and you're trying to push towers, take objectives, if you've got the right heroes to do it, it doesn't matter if you go for a more greedy late game Midas build on Viper because of just the way this lineup will dominate.
You've got Tombstone, you've got Shaman wards. It's just already that is a good 5-man push just from those two heroes.
Corrosive just so good on its own is making him tanky.
Brax, he's been spotted out mid, gets bashed and smacked again, and Malaysia begin to climb their way back into this game. All of a sudden now, making the score 4-7. It was a 5-0 start, and well, the game's starting to turn a bit. This is around the stage of the game where the Tombstone hits level 3 to 4, where you get your Shaman wards. We already saw those come into play. Maybe a Viper mech or Shadow Fiend mech, I guess, comes out since Viper's going Midas. Then Malaysia's 5-man gets really scary.
And they're going to now jump in this bottom lane. Zombie scouts out Demon. Also cancels out his Blink Dagger, which he was trying to use with the Epicenter. Now he's going to go for the Epicenter from the side. Blink, Burrow Strike on 2. Johnny and Ketchik get low with a CM ulti, but not low enough. The mech is going to heal him up a little bit. Now he goes down. SF and Undying both hit the deck, but they're fighting underneath the Tombstone for a little bit longer until it expires. And now Viper stranded as Sniper TP's in. Great rotation coming from BSJ.
Demon with the huge plays there. 3-hero Epi Burrow. And that was through the mech. They still take the fight.
Yeah.
What an impressive engagement. And
they got
my, oh my. That
far
was a
enough
big
away
turn
from the tomb that it worked out well for them.
Yeah, it's where maybe you want to also bring your Shadow Shaman into these fights just for that extra bit of team fight potential from the wards, but instead they're going to park Mushi top, he'll deploy the wards, and they'll look for a tier 1 tower here. They do know Ravage is down, Epi's down, so not a bad time for Malaysia to fight. At the same time, though, a couple of their heroes are dead.
Yeah. The other big problem for Malaysia is they went diving past
and
the
now
tower.
the charge in. They found out Ike's Mike. There's the Nether Strike follow-up. He does get off the immediate anchor smash. The Spearbreaker basically doing nothing now. That bash is magic, though. If he gets one, should be enough to kill off Mike, and he doesn't. The Tombstone not good enough to get the kill, and Mike, he dodges the RNG that time, lives to tell the tale. Johnny on the retreat out. Brax leaping forward, wants to focus the Tombstone down, gets that extra bit of gold. Seems Johnny will let it go, and I'll just try to settle for the tower here.
Good decision from Malaysia, I think, just to back off after that tower. Something they realized they should have done bottom lane. They could have got that tower without making the big dive past, and they even had a chance to scout out the Blink Dagger when the zombie actually cancelled his initial blink. Well, it didn't go for the epicenter, but
it looks like multiple Midases here, Gods, although they're going to be delayed with that potentially as Ohio goes for the charge. Instant Frostbite from Whitebeard, says, hell no. They'll collect the kill, and they'll delay that Midas as well.
This CM is having a pretty big impact so far. That bottom lane team fight with the freezing field and just constant rotations around the map to find kills for Summer's Rift. It's been a pretty good CM game.
Still for Malaysia, even though it has not been a very smooth game, certainly not compared to some of those very one-sided stomps they had at Starladder. Nonetheless, Gods, they have 3 towers down now. They're coming into their own as a lineup. The Midas for the Shadow, or for the Viper can begin to pay off now. Probably builds towards the Ags. They've got some decent wards up around the map, as we're seeing here, and I feel like that second wave is really where Summer's Rift is going to be tested. When they go in with the max level Tombstone, the mech, probably a Viper Ags, the level 2 wards perhaps, maybe a BKB in the mix there. That is where Summer's Rift are going to have a really hard time defending unless they get off a perfect initiation.
Yeah, and that's where we've got Sniper really itemizing towards the early game. He's going for a Drum of Endurance with a Belt of Giant Strength, so just looking purely to tank up.
Kachik Imba, he had the haste room, but the Ravage is waiting for him. Can they get the kill? He's low. One more auto tank, a blink forward. They got him. Raining down the Shadow Fiend, but while that was happening, they get BSJ Sniper. Ohio just struts up and clubs him again. It looks like a solo kill for him, and
he just got scouted up by a ward, jungling on like 400 HP. He thought he's safe in the jungle, but the charge just followed him from Fountain in the jungle. Bit greedy maybe from BSJ.
Unfortunate, and they committed a lot to take down that Shadow Fiend. The Ravage, the just bunch of heroes coming in for the gank. Might be an opportunity now for Malaysia when the Shadow Fiend respawns to look for a 5-man group up, go towards the Roche pit, maybe even go for the tier 2 bottom. This could be a good window for them.
Yeah, we'll see what the next move is going to be here. So I imagine Malaysia will be getting aggressive off of this. There's a lot of potential for them to take towers when they've got the Serpent Wards already. They've also got the Medallion on Shadow Shaman, and this is really with the stage of the game where Summer's Rift have to be very careful about fighting when they don't have Ravage available.
Yeah, Ravage being on cooldown, that's generally the window to get aggressive, and they go now. The charge to start. They found Mike off the bat. There's nothing he can do. Gets blown up, and immediately you got to expect Malaysia will go right into the pit. Mushi with the Medallion now, and no, I don't really see if they can contest this, guys. They will have Shrapnel for a bit of vision here. They've got good AoE, but no Ravage. Just feels very different.
Yeah, Sniper just not in a position where he's near the pit, and this is going to go down pretty quickly, LD.
Yeah, whether they know or not, it's just like, can they really contest this? This is going to be extreme.
Radiant Vision. They've got that high ground ward. Roshan goes down. It's too late for Summer's Rift to contest.
You could see that they knew it was happening immediately after the death. The call is made. They're probably Roshan, but they can't really go on that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, a bit of a snafu by Malaysia is to get a double Observer Ward down on top of each other near that Roshan pit.
All right, wards get a little lonely, Gods. They're normally off on their own for their entire lives, and then they just die. So, you know, it's like Interstellar. You just need that human companionship here.
Oh, you get the Sentry. You don't want to. Your companionship can't be with your clone.
But your companionship dies first, and then you're just alone in the end anyway.
I mean, that happens.
That's why you got the double ward here.
That's the way of life, you know?
Oh, this cat's got awful morbid in a hurry.
Well, right now, Malaysia, Aegis in hand, they can start looking to take objectives. Something interesting, which we don't normally see, has happened from the Viper. KYXY has gone for a Vanguard build, a kind of an old school build. This was once a popular item to get on ranged heroes, on heroes like Viper or like Razor. Haven't seen it picked up in some time, though, on a ranged hero.
Do you see them being able to like 5-man for a tier 2 now? I feel like that's kind of the next goal for Team Malaysia is they want to just group up, as we were talking about, the Viper. Well, in this case, as you mentioned, it's not going to be an Ags, but basically that first tank item, whatever it is, and then the mech, Shadow Fiend working on BKB, level 2 wards are now available for Mushi, Tombstone's max. Do you just go as 5? Do you keep on farming? You do it. I think they have the Ohio Midas now as well.
Yeah.
So
I think they're going as 5.
Like they could go either way, I guess. What's the choice here, do you think?
The way they're itemizing makes it look like they're going to go as 5. A BKB Shadow Fiend, a Viper with a Crimson Guard. You've got the mech as well on Shadow Fiend. Looks like Spirit Breaker may be considering a Vlad's with this small bit mask, either a Vlad's or a Mask of Madness. But if they want to go full Aura of Death push, definitely a possibility for Team Malaysia.
We'll see a bit of dewarding here. Whitebeard will proudly claim that 50 gold. And now the waiting game begins for Summer's Rift, where they're gonna have all their ults ready. I guess that's the big thing. Is if you're Malaysia, you know that Ravage is cooldown. You are fighting into the full arsenal of big AoE combo spells. But there's a lot of regen, a lot of sustain on this team at the same time.
Absolutely, and this is a really nice game for a pipe if you want to go for that really scary 5-man push on the Malaysia side. The question's always going to be who's going to farm it. Your Shadow Shaman ideally wants a blink. Your Undying is not really actually getting allocated much farm, and that's where a pipe is not going to come for some time for this team.
Yeah, I am also a little surprised there's no consideration here. Maybe he just sits on the Vanguard and goes for it. There's not much physical damage, which is where a Crimson Guard doesn't feel like the best choice. Even the Sniper for now is Shrapnel and Assassinate primarily. But now the Tombstone gets dropped, also killing off a couple of trees, but it's in range of BSJ to focus. This is going to drop quickly, and they're going to have to contest. Charging through onto Mike, they get onto BSJ off the bat. The Ravage is there to counter-initiate, but is it going to be enough? Quad Bolt over the top. Kachikima meching to keep the team alive. There's just so much sustain, but now the CM ult looking to turn it. There's the Demon Epi. They bring down 2. Looking for a 3rd. They're going to get that as well. Kachikimba, another raise. It's 4 dead in exchange for 3. The Aegis down. That's going to be the last hero falling. And now the lone survivor are the wards, which are untouched. And Kachikimba with life number 2.
Does Brax go commit for this one? Doesn't look like it. Looks like they want to farm up some Serpent Wards here. Great team fight for Summer's Rift here, using their ultis to perfection and winning a fight against an Aegis Malaysia team 5-manning. And that's just where Malaysia get a bit too overconfident walking into that fight. Yeah, you've got the Tombstone up, but Summer's Rift AoE teamfight wombo combo is damn scary. Crystal Maiden, the new changes to Freezing Field means it's online a lot more often, and we're seeing Whitebeard get these decent duration Freezing Fields off, teamfight after teamfight. Malaysia have nothing really to cancel it outside the Shadow Shaman. Spirit Breaker is normally charging and using his ulti on someone else, which means CM just walks in and gets off a good Freezing Field every single time.
Yeah, good freezing field and an amazing combo from Brax. I believe he hit like 3 or 4 heroes with the ultimate. Was the highest damage dealer in that fight by a decent margin. So
this is the dream item for Sand King too. Now this is what your team needs. This is what you against only one BKB.
We saw the first 3 picks and immediately it's Crystal Maiden, Sand King, Quapid. You've got the slightly cheaper, more cost-effective Veil in this version, and it's just an obvious pickup for the team. Really strong choice.
Oh my. We start taking some raises here. Kachikimba doesn't go for the ulti on him.
All right, well, Kachikimba jumping the gun a little bit. Could have waited for a teammate to come in, but he'll let Mike walk away. Still the TP got used, so he's got to waddle back towards mid on the Tide, and while he's busy walking, Team Malaysia are booking it down the middle lane.
This is a kind of it's something that Summer's Rift can't really fight. No Epicenter, no Ravage. I don't see them defending the tier 2 tower unless they can really stall for those ultis to come back up.
Now, Tombstone dropped once again very early and in kind of a forward position here for Malaysia. And that's something that the Sniper, if he needs to, can look to plink away at. Already BSJ laying into it. He'll deal with the zombie. More will spawn, and he's going to get it. No, actually not. They baited him in. They charge just to get in range for the Nether Strike, and now Ohio wants to turn and run the hell away. The Veil comes out. Man, he drops fast, and it will be some roasted cow in the end for dinner. A nice little burger made out of him.
Now they've bought time. They've got their ultis.
They want to fight this, though. It looks like the Yules comes out. Shadow Fiend forced back. The Veil deployed again. Seems like this thing's always up. Kachikima forced to BKB now. Looks for the Requiem. The wards dropped on the sidelines, but they have no Spirit Breaker to go in first. Decay is starting to add up, though. And Whitebeard goes for the tree line ultimate. Gets it on 3. It's a full duration CM ult, but not enough. Malaysia just shake it off and keep on fighting their way forward. Now Brax gets hexed up in the end. So far, a 2 for 1.
Burrow coming online.
They're looking for more. Quick blink away from Mushi and in the right direction. Up to the high ground. BSJ on the chase, though. Tombstone got dropped. Brack still laying into him. Johnny gonna almost drop. The mech comes out. Maybe they can turn this. They need some lockdown. Mushi, he ends up TPing onto the tower from almost point blank just to get off that hex, which secures the kill. Make it 18-13. A topsy-turvy game, and crucially, gods, the wards, they got dropped outside of the tier 2 mid range, so they were not able to take down that mid tower.
That was a clutch mech from Shadow Fiend. He like timed it and baited the Queen of Pain in with that blink, and it was the assassinate blink screen which should have killed off the Undying, but nicely played by Shadow Fiend to get that extra bit of heal off to bait the Queen of Pain in and turn things around slightly in Malaysia's favor, because before that, that was mostly a lost fight. As you mentioned, the Serpent used away from the tier 2 tower, multiple Malaysia heroes going down, really nice kiting in general, using the sniper shrapnel to great effect. Even some new things like the caustic slow coming out from the Sand King, giving that extra bit of slow as well. Summer's Rift just executing their draft and they play really well against a really tough Malaysia mid-game lineup.
And they're getting levels, man. Look at this. Level 14 Sand King. Whitebeard a bit behind, only level 10, but this team is really going to take advantage of that Veil pickup. Already we've seen it a bit, but as we close in on the Tidehunter getting the level 3 Ravage, he already hits level 11. Demon's got the level 2 Epi. Insane AoE. And that's where, if you're Malaysia, you really want BKBs, maybe a pipe, which you mentioned. Seems like they aren't going for that now. Perhaps we see the Undying pick it up. Seems like a possibility, but
the alternative is
dealing
like
with a lot of
get
magic damage.
3-4 BKBs, which it seems may be the plan. Even Shadow Shaman has picked up an Ogre Club, which suggests Mushi may be just going BKB. I feel like in some ways it's maybe a better item than the Ag Scepter, because what does Summer's Rift really do against BKBs here? Yeah, you've got Sonic Wave and Sniper DPS, but Sniper is going for a much more tanky, survivable build with the drums S and Y. So I feel like as long as you don't get hit by Ravage, Burrow Strike, CM freezing field damage, you stay alive. Sonic Wave and Sniper alone maybe kills off one hero, but you've got so much sustain with the mech and just general tankiness of this Malaysia lineup that having 3 to 4 BKBs is the way to go this game.
Now, it is a very even game. It's even in terms of kills, 18-13, pretty close there in terms of net worth. We're very close, and well, I guess the big discrepancy so far, gods, has really been the tower advantage. Malaysia up 4 towers to 1 right now, and they almost got their 5th there mid. They're the team that seems to be constantly on the offensive. Summer's Rift, much different style than what we saw them in the America qualifiers. Much more passive and kind of defensive as they make their go in the bottom lane. They find IX Mike. Hex comes out, he pops the mech, tries to run, ain't gonna get away. Malaysia run him down. They have a single creep wave here. I don't know if it's really enough to push in, but by golly, gods, they're trying for it. They got the catapult.
Good against these Serpent wards.
Sniper trying to bring them down. They'll throw out the Veil. It's kind of a zoning Veil in some ways. Now the Tombstone deployed again, very high up towards the Summer's Rift side. Now prepping a bit with the Epi. Goes in, gets Johnny. Already the Tombstone down. Not the biggest deal if he dies. He gets mech'd up. Queen of Pain ults there. They get the kill. Now Ohio turning. Where does he want to go? He got stunned for a little while. BSJ brought low, finished off by that Nether Strike tower in jeopardy. Now a buyback from the Tidehunter rejoining the fight. Goes in with the Ravage. Connects on Kachikimba as well as Mushi. Diving the Shadow Fiend. He'll pop like a pinata. Now Ohio charging his way out of the fight. Mushi's trapped in the tree line back in the Dire Basin. Meanwhile, they run down the cow. Another burrow. Another kill. 3 fall. They lose the Sniper. They have to buy back the Tide after a death. But in the end, Summer's Rift hold. And they come out on top.
Feels like it's just a really big overcommitment from Malaysia to just go diving in so deep. Summer's Rift go on you and try to bring down the Undying. That's one thing, but you don't want to go diving back into them. And Mike really patient with that Ravage. Waited for the Shadow Fiend BKB to wear off. And we're getting to a point where SF's BKB down to 8 seconds right now, but it's looking like Malaysia having trouble taking objectives as cleanly as they'd like. So if this goes late game, we're looking at SF having that short duration BKB against a lineup which can really take advantage of that.
They feel like they're pressing a little too hard. They had like half a creep wave, basically. You don't know if Tide is buyback. The Tombstone gets dropped very far forward on the high ground, and then they start committing heroes up onto the high ground. Like, it would be one thing to just drop, try to damage the tower and back off, but they don't seem to really be respecting the Summer's Rift 5-man.
Well, Summer's Rift are going to...
I mean, hey, they obviously didn't respect them that much. They picked them as the challenge, so perhaps that's coming back to haunt them a little bit.
And you've got a Queen of Pain with a level 3 Aghanim's upgraded ultimate. Your Sand King has a level 3 ultimate as well. Demon's level 16 and has a ton of gold on him. even just having a CM who's managed to reach level 2 ulti with the freezing field. We've seen multiple times that ulti do a lot of damage in
look
team
what
fights.
she's got now. She's got a new fancy item, the Glimmer Cape.
I like
haven't seen a Glimmer Cape yet here at Battlegrounds. This will be the first. It does feel like it can be situationally really, really strong. And the cool thing about it is it's cheap. It's a cheap one.
Yeah, really nice, this little like support item you can pick up and well, take advantage of. So we'll see what the two teams can look to do next. Malaysia have made their way into the Roshan pit and bring it down nice and fast once again. It's one of those things where unless you're already there in your Summer's Rift, you can't contest because of how quickly Malaysia can kill it.
All right, well, with this Aegis Gods, do they want to slow it down and use it more as a farming Aegis? Do you feel like the way the game's developed, they really need to force the issue? What's your game plan here if you're Malaysia?
I think you farm BKBs and then try and take objectives with Aegis. So the Spirit Breaker BKB, the Viper BKB. If you can get both of these and you've still got a couple minutes on Aegis, you go push. But you've got to just farm these BKBs at this stage of the game.
That's a good point. There is actually nothing to cancel a BKB charge, which guarantees that, like we saw the last fight, the Spirit Breaker did end up killing Sniper, but first I think he got frostbitten, might have been stunned by somebody else. Maybe it might have been the Ravage or Burrow Strike, I'm not sure, but eventually gets off the Nether Strike. But it's after Summer's Rift have gotten off basically the full combo.
And it was mostly the Blink Requiem from Ketchik who went back for a later game Blink, which seems like a really nice time to have against the Sniper because you're not generally taking much damage yourself while BKB. It's, again, nothing to cancel a BKB channeling spell like Charge or the Requiem that souls this game.
Well, for now, not actually showing many on the map. It seems Team Malaysia are going to settle down a little bit. Those BKBs en route. We did see KYXY stop off for a Yasha along the way. And looks like Summer's Rift will build towards more magic damage. Demon picks up the point booster. Probable Ags coming out here. Ags Veil Sand King is
they're all in on the team.
Filthy damage.
If you're Sand King, it's like, yeah, you ideally want to mix up your damage for your team, but Sand King's not the hero who can do that. He's just going to have to wait for his right timing, try fight around the BKBs. It's maybe the Queen of Pain who can consider going into a more kind of diverse build, although I think Scythe of Vice is always the natural item to get, especially against BKBs, because you can get the Blink Hex off and allow a lot of damage to be dumped on a target before they can BKB.
As for Summer's Rift, as you said, basically going all in on the team fight for now. If the game goes later, then they can start to count on the Sniper at some point, perhaps, but no matter how big he gets, he can always be dove by the Spirit Breaker, and so it's not really reliable that he'll be able to sit back and just continue farming up.
Mike was being charged, but instead they find a new target. It's the Sniper in mid lane, and Slam Jammer going to get slammed into the ground with Whitebeard trying to glimmer his way out of there.
Look at this. Can't touch this, says Whitebeard. Not good for Summer's Rift losing the Sniper, but man, she took basically no damage.
That's where you want to glimmer your Sniper there if you can react fast enough, because I don't think we had any detection for it.
He may have died anyway, but could have maybe set up a fight around him. As Mike will get charged here, starts taking the Lantern from Ohio. Will they follow this up? They're trying to bring more into position, but he quickly blinks to the south, looks to run away. However, charge should be cooling down, and it does. No, there's the Yules. Gonna stop him from getting the charge off. Nice play from Brax on the high ground. Was able to interrupt that one on his Queen of Pain, and in the end, Team Malaysia thwarted in their effort to find the second kill.
Brax is playing really well this game on Queen of Pain. He said like that one time mid where he kind of overextended, but I can see like it was a reasonable blink to make in earlier. Unfortunately, he got punished for it, but he's had a really good game. As is Demon on the Sand King, 4-2 and 14. His team fight presence has really kept these towers alive as long as they've been alive. Right now, it's not many outer towers left, just the one T2 at top for Summer's Rift.
My one concern for Summer's Rift Gods is, in theory, they have the late game, or at least a good, maybe not the late game overall, but they have a good late game with the Sniper. But BSJ, the deaths are starting to add up here. When you look at net worth, he is 50% down now on the Shadow Fiend, already up to 15k net worth, even the Viper surpassing him. It feels like BSJ is just going to be like kind of a complementary piece to this lineup, at least for the next 10 to 15 minutes. But he won't be able to just man mode around as the Sniper and just run heroes down.
Yeah, he's got at least enough farm that he can quickly bring down the Serpent Wards. It doesn't take more than one right click per Serpent Ward, but to take down the Tombstone quickly, to be able to fight the Viper or the Shadow Fiend in the front lines, it's a lot trickier for him. That's where he's going to have to rely on the Tide, the Sand King, the CM, and the Queen of Pain to get people nice and low with their big team fight presence.
Well, Malaysia not really looking to force the issue too much here. They did take the tier 2 mid, but We have not seen a high ground attempt.
They've got their BKBs, so this is really the time to do it.
They're going to find KYXY here. He's the man in front. The BKB is popped at the right moment, delivered, and he'll end up surviving through this. In fact, looks to turn. Now the charge in onto Whitebeard. They're not dealing with the tombstone. They need to kill Mike here quickly, though. As the Ravage, now the Epi coming through, combined with the Veil. Massive damage from Summer's Rift, but still Kachikemba healthy, standing his ground, and now laying into him nice and thick. Ohio with the charge away, finds the sniper, starts going on to BSJ, where the dust settles a 2 for 2. All that AoE, but still the BKBs to keep him healthy. They bring down BSJ, and he just starts to feel so damn squishy. They never got off a Ravage that fight, and it's just, what do you do? If you're Mike, you're just waiting there for these super long duration BKBs. You can't really do anything.
Yeah, and you ran into the Viper, whose BKB arrived on the courier as you initially go on him. That is just kind of unfortunate, but at the same time, that was a BKB he had bought some time ago. So
I mean, if you're Summer's Rift, like you see him, he doesn't have a BKB. Okay, this is where we want to kill Viper, then bam, all of a sudden he has it.
If you're Malaysia, you're definitely thinking this Glimmer Cape, though, is causing some problems. They had a freezing field on top of them for some time until the charge went through and managed to hit the Crystal Maiden in the freezing field. They're definitely going to be considering sentries, or I'd say more likely a gem at some point. But another good team fight. Well, one of the first few good team fights from Malaysia, actually, is they do take the last outer tower on the map and get Shadow Fiend even further ahead of Sniper.
Summer's Rift came into this tournament as underdogs in most people's eyes, and they're not out of it yet. Still a very strong high ground defense lineup, but they're also going up against a bit of a battering ram here for Malaysia. Getting tanky. We see the Butterfly now come out on the Shadow Fiend. You already mentioned mass BKBs. Shadow Shaman should have an Aghanim Scepter momentarily if he hasn't already completed it. Only 500 gold short, it looks like, and that will be when Malaysia just all of a sudden, it's like you've got a full tank of gas and you just hit the accelerator and try to barrel down mid.
Yeah, it feels like the next Roshan is going to be like the timing for Malaysia. That's the, we can now win the game, or at least go for that game-winning blow.
They're even getting a Vlads, and the new Vlads, of course, it does work on ranged heroes. So this is going to be really strong potentially with the Shadow Fiend Viper duo.
Well, I can definitely see Malaysia probably securing next Roshan, maybe uncontested. I feel like that's one of the things where Summer's Rift want to try and prioritize getting some better map control, some wards, especially around the Roshan pit. Right now, ideally, because Roshan can spawn anytime a minute and a bit from now. So that's going to be a big problem for Summer's Rift if Malaysia get the cheese and Aegis this time and then just walk towards their base as 5. Yeah, you've got this huge team fight, but with BKBs, Aegis, and cheese, I think Malaysia should be able to break through at least one lane of racks if they execute decently.
Ideally, if you're Summer's Rift, you get those wards out and you farm a little bit more in BSJ and you find kills so that Malaysia can't group up as 5, but they're not really finding a whole lot right now. As you mentioned, Gods, the map is rather dark and dreary for this squad, and it just doesn't seem like they're able to move around as individuals. They always are clustering as groups of 2 to 5, normally closer to the 5 mark, and just playing very defensive Dota, always on their guard against that next charge.
I feel like if you're Malaysia, you want to keep it that way. Try and deny them vision, and we mentioned the gem to help against the Glimmer Cape, but to deny map control. When you're against a team who is going to be potentially looking to contest Roshan, or at least play very defensive in their base, you don't want to give them any vision to take advantage of. So not having a gem, I feel like, is slightly hurting Malaysia at the current time.
Well, Lord knows that Malaysia have the gold for it, as they've got the double Midas effect kicking in. They've taken all the outer towers. Their poorest hero is the Undying on 5,000 net worth, but Mushi and everyone else nearly doubling that. As we see a Shaman sitting around 9,500. It's going to be Glimmer Cape City here.
Yeah.
More and more
who needs
heroes
pipe these days? Glimmer Cape is like the new cheaper pipe, even if it's only on one target, but it's like the support option. Like, your support's never going to farm a pipe. If you're going pipe, it's
it does have the 130 mana cost, but let's be honest. None of these heroes at this point in the game are going to have any mana issues. Maybe someone like Viper, but he's also not likely to be building one.
Yeah. And we've got Arcane Boots on Mushi as well to help out with some of those mana problems. And looks like Malaysia just going to push things out. They've got a couple heroes making their way down the bottom lane. They mentioned getting map control, and pushing out mid and bottom lane are the 2 main lanes you want to push, because that allows you to ward up near Roshan, de-ward around the Roshan pit, which they do now have a gem to deal with. So this is just going to give them a good position to be in.
All right, Team Malaysia moving forward here on the bottom side of the map. We'll
Whitebeard almost walked right
for
into
a very bold ward attempt. Quickly dealt with.
Ward, but
and now the siege. Veil will come out as a warning shot from Summer's Rift, but Kachikemba up in the front lines is undeterred. I would love to see them throw the medallion on whoever's in front, as they have it for Mushi now, and it just feels like a very nice tool. Maybe we even see the upgraded medallion.
Ketchik does need to be a bit
soon.
careful on the front lines, because if something like an Epicenter Burrow Strike comes out while he's veiled, that's a ton of damage that could potentially hit him before he can BKB. You throw a Sonic Wave on top of that, and suddenly you've got a dead Shadow Fiend. And that's where I don't think Malaysia, I mean, you can see now they're not over-committing to go for that high ground siege at bottom. They just did a bit of damage and then backed off as soon as Summer's Rift were in a position to defend.
Well, right now, the map looking very empty for both teams. They'll find Mushi, though, down in the river, gets caught out. Burrow Strikes there, and now they reveal the Queen of Pain Hex. Veil coming over the top. They deploy even the Tombstone, which should be dealt with rather easily by Summer's Rift, and this could set up for some good aggressive wards.
They'd love for a Roshan respawn as well, yeah. It's been some time since it could have respawned, and Summer's Rift are just going to linger around that a little bit longer and hope that it comes up soon. There's still a T1 mid tower, which is a big tower to bring down, because it means when Shadow Shaman respawns, he's going to make a much longer walk back to the Roshan pit. Takes away a big vantage point that Malaysia have had up for quite some time.
Crucial gold for BSJ as well, as he looks to mount his comeback. Now just about even with the enemy Viper, still down a lot on the Shadow Fiend, but he is getting there, slowly but surely. We'll see Mike building towards a potential refresher now, up to 2,000 gold. Normally the next item, and Gods, your long-asked-for gem is finally afoot. Ohio will show it top lane, farming the creeps, and the Glimmer Capes might not be quite so effective moving forward here for Summer's Rift.
All right, it's a much-needed item for Malaysia, so we'll see what Summer's Rift look to do. They can now finally start building into some damage items onto the Sniper. Probably the MKB against the Shadow Fiend evasion feels like a necessity this game, and just a okay item on Sniper anyways for the damage output it can provide.
Yeah, of course, Headshot no longer gives you that mini MKB, so once you see a butterfly come out, you really want to pick one up.
Yeah, the big thing, of course, at this stage of the game, teams know Roshan pretty much guaranteed to be up around that max timer, and we'll see teams posture around, trying to secure it for themselves.
Well, at this point, it's been about 11 minutes, so it's almost guaranteed that this Roshan has respawned. And both teams are most likely going to begin the dance around the pit. So far, nobody really finding anything yet. Both teams moving around towards the southern side of the map now, and who's going to get the jump here? It's going to be Mike who gets revealed. Now the Kachik Emma blink in. BKBs get popped, but they found the Sniper. They're just going to right-click him down off the bat, completely isolated.
Oh boy.
Mushi did drop the wards, though, and they used 2 BKBs. I don't actually know if they can go high ground off of this, but they might be able to go into the pit.
That was, yeah, they scout him out. They had the Observer Ward. That vision from Malaysia just allowed them to see what they need to see. And your SFBKB blinks in. Nothing to go through that. You can't Burrow Strike. You can't Ravage. You've got no Frostbite. Nothing at all. You really need to be... Summer's Rift way to win a team fight is to get the jump themselves. They need to be going in with the Blink Hex off of the Queen of Pain if they want to be able to take a fight.
Where are they leaving this for?
Where's Shadow Fiend gone? He's coming back in. Mushi takes the age. I feel like, I don't know if that was the initial plan. I feel like
Kachika blinked away, then the pings start coming out. I think they really wanted to give it either to the Viper or more likely to the Shadow Fiend. But
yeah, I feel like that's a Shadow Fiend item for sure.
He would have had to drop something big, though. But Helm of the Dominator, I guess that's not super essential because you already have a Vlad's on your team. Maybe you drop that for now, but at the same time, he would have had to give something up. This team historically has had issues when it comes to the Aegis God.
Yes.
So.
Pushing without an Aegis on Shadow Fiend is just so risky. Mentioned like a Blink Burrow Strike, catching him before he BKBs. You've also got a Hex from Queen of Pain. Your Tide can Blink Ravage to follow up. There's a lot of Chain Disable that can prevent Ketchik getting off his BKB if you're the ones getting the jump on the Summer's Rift side. And they've still got all their ultis. They didn't actually blow anything too important in that team fight. And I feel like SF has to be very careful with this siege as a result.
Look at this. We will see the Mask of Madness for BSJ. It got a heavy move speed nerf. Still gives you the same attack speed. Still has the same downside of you taking a lot of bonus damage. But at the same time, he's got the phase, drums, and Sanjanyasha already. So he doesn't really need the move speed that much. And that is cheap attack speed. You got to imagine at this point, though, the next item will be something that hits a little bit harder.
Yeah. I guess he was... I think they were under the impression, like, okay, Malaysia just got Aegis and Cheese. They're now 5-manning towards us. I got to spend my money. Otherwise...
There's your super medallion, or the solar crest, I should say.
This'll... Something you can throw in the Viper, I guess, in the front lines, especially since Butterfly already picked up by Shadow Fiend.
There's no MKB. You can stack this evasion as well if you want on the Shadow Fiend.
Absolutely. This is going to help out a lot against the Sniper. Well, just against
or
the
just
Sniper,
throw it
really.
on the Sniper and he gets the miss chance. I guess that's an option as well.
Yep. So
he dies quickly, though. That is my one worry for BSJ, is already the last fight. He just got charged, BKBs, Spirit Breaker, just right-click him with the ult, and he just died to the Shadow.
And that was where the physical damage coming out. The Serpent Wards were also attacking him, so I feel like maybe the Medallion is going to be more targeted offensively on Sniper, especially with that mischance it provides, than defensively onto someone like Viper or Shadow Fiend. Viper and Shadow Fiend aren't really at great risks of dying unless they're getting stunned before they BKB. If they get their BKBs off, your Medallion is going on the Sniper.
What do you think they still try and go for it? Not having an Aegis on a core, do you still want to try and force the issue?
Yeah, I think you... Otherwise, at some point, it's like, what's the Aegis and Cheese for? You can farm for the ultra late game, get Shadow Fiend his Satanic, his other luxury late game items, Daedalus, whatever it may be, but feels like with Aegis and Cheese, you should at least try and chip away at this tier 3 and work away on the racks. You've also got the Ags, Shadow Shaman. This, to me, would just be kind of crazy to not go for the high ground push, at least in kind of a safe, methodical manner.
All right, let's see if they want to do it. For now, Summer's Rift farming up their own jungle. We'll see Brax heading towards the top lane. They are, again, though, you just look at their positioning, and they're kind of forced into a defensive posture. When Malaysia group, it's because they want to take an objective. But otherwise, they're spreading the map a lot more. Now moving through the bottom lane, they're going to reveal Kachikemba. Out comes the Veil, and in comes the Burrow. It's on 2 off the bat. Now Brax with the Hex to follow up on Kachikemba. He doesn't have the Aegis. He might die immediately. They lose the Aegis. Johnny mech'd up. Kachikemba forced to turn and run away, but now there's no Ravage, and they might be able to make a go here on the Watermelon. They hold KYXY in place. Still, the Sniper survives. Now the Epi from Demon. Massive damage done, and KYXY stands alone up the hill. No Shadow Fiend by his side. Brax beginning to work on him. Whitebeard surviving for ages. Now he glimmers away and laughs in the face of the Flying Manta Ray. In the end, 4 fall. They don't claim Rax. They lose a gem, an Aegis, and all their momentum, it feels. What a hold by Team Summer's Rift.
That's where you're just crazy not to put an Aegis on Shadow Fiend. You're trying to push high ground with an Aegis on your Shadow Shaman. You drop Serpent Wards and your Shadow Shaman's job is done. It's your Shadow Fiend, your Viper in the front lines. You've got to stay alive, be tanky. I feel like they maybe like overvalued the Glimmer Cape and its ability to keep Shadow Fiend alive. He got super low, had the Glimmer Cape on him to give him some magic resistance, but it was too late. He was already down to like crucial HP there and couldn't heal himself back up. Maybe with the Satanic it would have been okay, but that was still back at base in his stash. Big fight going Summer's Rift way, and this is what this team just did throughout the group stage as well. These incredible kind of quote-unquote comebacks, or at least play from behind team fights where they're down 10k gold, but somehow managed to find a way to win a big team fight.
Well, now all of a sudden, look who's on the offensive. It's the American boys here. Summer's Rift moving in. They're going to look to take the tower bottom, and they will do so. Brax getting the last hit. Now, endless bounties of gold pouring into their pockets as we see the gap really begin to close. That Shadow Fiend, who was 1.5 times the Sniper's net worth, he's still up about 6k, but it's getting to that point where Sniper's going to get his first big damage item. And, well, at the same time, Shadow Fiend does get the Satanic. Feels like Malaysia may have one last really strong push in them, but if they get thwarted again, then you're probably fighting into double Ravage, 1 to 2 Sniper damage items. Queen of Pain may have a refresher by that point if that's the route that Brax wants to go here. We'll see what the choice is, but they are going to start dropping some really big purchases soon.
Oh, and that's the scary thing. Malaysia, it feels like they can only get so much stronger at this point. Even though, yeah, they've still got item slots available, but you've kind of itemized and got a draft that doesn't really get too much stronger once you fill out. You go from like 5 slot to 6 slot. With the Sniper, yet to get damage items, he gets a whole lot scarier. Your Queen of Pain with a refresher gets a whole lot scarier. There's a lot of big items that could come Summer's Rift way as we move towards this late game. And that's where Malaysia, with the Satanic on SF, that's about as big as he gets. He gets one more maybe damage item to replace the mech, but beyond that, not much else.
Summer's Rift just gonna reset here a little bit. They had a nice team fight. Still need to make sure that they farm those next items, and if they give up a kill and that hero does not have buyback, they still look at a potential lane of lost racks. The racks are exposed. I believe Glyph was used in the last fight, and in any case, Mushi's gonna have his level 3 Serpent Wards available. So they still need to be cautious not to give up any freebies, even though they have a much better position now after that.
The other big thing is the gem was exchanged hands. Went from Malaysia to the Summer's Rift side, so now it's going to be Summer's Rift who can deward a bit of the map, try and get map control to go their way, and cause Malaysia problems as far as knowing what's going on vision-wise. And that's something which Summer's Rift are going to look to use to their advantage.
Ohio for now dealing with some Queen of Pain illusions. We're going to see Demon Ags complete up to 4.8k gold. I just want to point out, he's 6k up on his own Tidehunter at this point. IX might quickly transitioning back into the support role, it feels.
Oh, man. Mike Dota for you.
Hey, if they get it at this point, Tide gets stronger with less items because those BKBs are wearing thin for Team Malaysia.
Curious to see what Demon goes for. I think maybe another Hex for the team is possible. Just the ability to initiate and try to take people out before they BKB. Alternatively, I don't know if you want a refresher here. I mean, the epicenter is decent, but not like you're make or break necessarily in a team fight.
I'm really curious what the choice is at this point. This is like pure luxury territory for. You can get the Shivas maybe. It's good with the Sand King. I mean, whatever he wants, just a pure like, man, I'm just filthy rich as Sand King. This almost never happens. I'm gonna have some fun.
Oh yeah, so we'll see what comes out next. But for now, it's Malaysia just playing together. They're grouping up. They're not really wanting to make any moves on the map. Potentially waiting for another Roshan respawn, which is sometime in the next 3 minutes. We're about to reach that minimum Roshan respawn, and this is where, again, we'll see the two teams make that dance around the Roshan pit, have that standoff going, and really prioritize vision on the cliffs and in and around the Roshan pit.
All right, it is indeed a refresher coming out now for Brax. Not going to say for buyback on the Queen of Pain. Summer's Rift will wait a potential push. They are going to show their Viper bottom lane. Everybody off the map now for Malaysia. And although no dire vision yet spotting this, they're very likely to suspect multiple heroes in the area.
Yeah, and they have lost a tier 3 tower at bottom lane, which makes the racks exposed, but at the same time means Malaysia have to push that much further into the dire base if they want to go for the rack. So pushing the tier 3 tower is one thing, but pushing a rack gets a lot more difficult because Sniper can sit so close to his tier 4 towers. And there's just even more places for the Tide, the Sand King to hide in the trees. They can come around for a flank. You've got to be so wary of so many different positions they can come and engage upon you when you're pushing that bottom lane of racks.
Let me ask you, how likely do you think it is that Summer's Rift takes like a heavy fight around the Roche pit? Do they let Malaysia have the next stage just feeling like it's not going to matter, or do you think they really want to contest and prevent them from grabbing another one?
They really want to contest it, I think. That's, I think, a top priority for them. Just because they've got such a big, scary team fight. Queen of Pain's finished her next big item, and I think from that point of view, there's no reason for them to give Roshan up for free when Malaysia aren't really getting that much scary. Yeah, KYXY's got a Heart of Taras now, but he's tanky. He's not dishing out huge amounts of damage. And I think all in all, Summer's Rift have the clear, better team fight now, as proven by the last fight where Shadowfiend, his 5-second BKB wearing off, really cripples him.
All right, let's see if their X factors here, the Shaman or maybe the Spirit Breaker for Malaysia can get the jump. That seems like the big way to mess things up for the Americans. Moving into the, in and around the Roche pit, or both teams now.
Yeah.
Doing that dance.
So what
Feels a lot like
I've
the
seen
last
this
fight,
exact
actually.
smoke in the fight before.
Here's a new item, though, guys. It's the MKB coming out. They go on IX Mike off the bat. Not the ideal hero to start on. Gets up the Ravage. And now BSJ, popping his own BKB, just wants to get away from the Shadow Fiend, who lays into him hot and heavy. But Demon's there with the counter initiation. Gets the Veil, the full epi. Quapo 1, Quapo 2. Kachika still taking through this with the Satanic. A charge on forward. Finds BSJ. The CM ult's going. Full duration, but not enough. They all survive. How do they do it? Triple kill for Kachika. They're going ape shit right behind us.
That's Satanic, and that Soul Rip healed him for so much. Oh my god, Sniper has no buyback. This may just be it. Queen of Pain has no buyback. That was a refresher Sonic Wave. They got the second Hex off as well on the Shadow Fiend, but
he has Satanic, Vlad's, Soul Rip, Mech. They just couldn't kill him.
What an insane team. They went all in on Shadow Fiend. They had to bring him down and bring him down faster than they did. But that was just too much sustain, and now they're going to lose multiple lanes of racks. They may just go for the throne if they want to. Epicenter, Ravage on cooldown. Even if these heroes buy back, they're not bringing much to the table. Malaysia going to go for mid lane as well. Sand King buys back, but Malaysia's like, is that the only buyback?
They got no ults left. What can they do?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the base crumbles, and Malaysia coming out here in great position. They may get mega creeps at this rate, gods, and from there, any hope of a comeback, it gets very thin for Summer's Rift. Now the Blink, Hex forward onto Demon. This could end up being a dieback. There's your Stretch Armstrong shackles. They'll let him go, but the damage has been fully done. The base caved in. Mega creeps achieved for your Malaysian squad, Team Malaysia. And now, desperately trying to get something out of this buyback, but it seems they'll get nothing in the end.
And it was that exact same team fight which won in Malaysia previous one, where they had that ward vision above the Roshan pit. Tide, IX Mike checked out the ward with the gem, checked out the ward spot further to the north, but did not check that ward spot by Roshan, and it gave Malaysia the vision they needed to get that great engagement. They get the Serpent trap on Tide, force out a rushed Ravage, and as a result, Summer's Rift, it was still an okay initiation, but not, I mean, even if they killed the Shadow Fiend, they still lose that fight. That's the crazy thing there. They threw all in. Let's say they killed the Shadow Fiend a bit faster even. at best, I see it being a 50-50 fight. It was never going to be a one-team fight for Summer's Rift.
At that point in the fight, Spirit Breaker was alive, he was healthy, he's got an Assault Caress, and can basically man up on any single hero. On top of that, CM's ult's down, so she doesn't have much left. And they still, I think, had the Undying walking around. Viper was healthy, and it feels like Viper, Spirit Breaker can take pretty much any two heroes on Summer's Rift at this stage of the game. They're just all in on the big team fight. If they get the perfect one, they take engagements, else they're in a lot of trouble. As Demon, who just fought back, will get caught down in the river, does get Yule's Tombstone deployed in the middle of the engagement. Demon, though, being isolated, he won't get that big epicenter off, ends up falling. That's a dieback, dead for 90. Now onto Mike. Kachikimba taking heavy damage. Ravage is there. Quaffle brings him down, but all the while, creeps are marching. They're running out of time. They bring down BSJ, starting to really take over this game. They'll bring down 4, looking for the 5th.
For the throne.
And
It's
GG. Summer's Rift challenged and ultimately fall here in the opening match of Redbull BattleGround's Dota 2 play.
Ended up being such a close, tight game. That one team fight at bottom lane where, again, Malaysia just with that right rotation coming in from behind and catching them out by surprise in a bad position. And because Malaysia are going to be feeling maybe a bit rattled because that game, I felt like, did not go quite according to plan for them, despite getting the win in the end.
It was not a smooth win by any means for this team. They take the win ultimately, but it felt like one more bad fight and it would have been Summer's Rift in the driver's seat the rest of the way. So I don't know if I'd say dodgy a bullet, but pretty close to that, Gods.
Yeah, unfortunately for Summer's Rift, they're down to 2 lives. Whether it's a close loss or a one-sided loss, either way, you're now down to 2 lives. You become a bigger target because teams will say, okay, you're going to be maybe a bit rattled after that game. You're going to be a bit emotional, maybe on tilt. A game they could have won after that great turnaround, a couple big team fights for them. And that's where suddenly Summer's Rift have to stay calm, have to remain composed because they maybe have a few more challenges coming their way.
Got to expect ultimately the losers here that they will be under the gun the rest of the way, and it begs the question, do they want to consider using a reflector in their next match? If they get challenged, it would end up being, I believe, IG, one of the strongest teams coming into this tournament, or do you risk taking that challenge?
I think if IG challenge them, you've got to use your reflector because you don't know what's happening when you're on 1 life. If somehow it gets reflected to you and suddenly you don't have the chance to use it, you just want to... Also, you want a time just to relax, calm down. You don't want to just go straight into another game off of a loss if given the chance to reflect on. So I feel like if IG challenges you, hands down, you reflect it. As to who you reflect it to, that's another question. Maybe you target a team like Malaysia, who showed some vulnerabilities. Maybe Hellraisers to say, hey, look, here's another team people should start picking on. But or you say, hey, IG in secret, you guys give us a great match. So a lot of possibilities.
You're not both going undefeated, that's for sure. So... all right, guys. Well, with that match wrapped up, I believe we're going to take a quick break here. We're going to reset. We'll get ready for the next challenge. That next challenge coming up will be Invictus Gaming choosing their opponent from the other 4 teams. And, well, is it going to be Summer's Rift again under the gun, or will they get some clemency here? We'll find out after this break. You're watching Redbull BattleGrounds Dota 2, and we'll be back.